Now we're looking at Juz 10, so make sure to read Juz 10 today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So the theme of war and conflict flows throughout the 10th Juz of the Quran. So this Juz begins at verse 41 of Surah Al-Anfal and ends at verse 86 of Surah Al-Tawbah. These two surahs are known as the warfare chapters and are often misquoted by Islamophobes to project a false image of Islam. There are many verses in this juz that are quoted out of context to make Islam look violent and intolerant, yet there are many verses in this juz that put these verses in context and give us the full picture. Surah Al-Anfal reflects on the first victory of the Muslims, reminding us that victory is only from Allah and piety is what matters most. So, Surah Al-Anfal was revealed after the Battle of Badr. Surah Al-Tawbah was one of the last Madaniyan surahs and was revealed after the expedition to Tabuk, which was northwestern of current day Saudi Arabia. Both surahs were revealed during military campaigns, and their verses reflect these circumstances. To take these verses out of context is dishonest. It also distracts from the main beautiful lessons that we can derive from these two surahs, as many people shy away from discussing them because of their association with the concept of fighting for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, jihad. In these two surahs we see the beginning and the end of the military campaigns of the Prophet ﷺ against the tribe of Quraysh. Surah Al-Anfal reflects on the first victory, reminding us that victory is from Allah and piety is what matters most. Surah Al-Tawbah was revealed after the biggest victory of the Muslims, the conquest of Makkah, showing the Muslims at the height of their power. Between these two surahs, we see the reflections on how Muslims should behave during wartime, times of peace, and when in a position of power. In all situations, justice and piety takes precedence over all else. An often misquoted verse is verse 60 of Surah Al-Anfal. And prepare against them all the power you can muster and all the cavalry you can mobilize, to terrify thereby Allah's enemies and your enemies and others beside them whom you do not know, but Allah knows them. Whatever you spend in Allah's way will be repaid to you in full, and you will not be wronged. So this verse is often portrayed as promoting terrorism, yet its context clearly shows otherwise. This verse promotes the importance of the Muslim nation having a strong military presence so that it is not a target of tyrants and enemies. The goal is to avoid war by establishing a position of power. The following verse helps to understand its proper context, which is verse 61 of chapter 8. But if they incline towards peace, then incline towards it and put your trust in Allah. He is the hearer, the knower. Another important verse in the surah is verse 70, which was revealed about the Prophet's uncle Al-Abbas. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him. If Allah finds any good in your hearts, He will give you better than what was taken from you, and He will forgive you. Allah is forgiving and merciful. This is verse 70 of chapter 8. Al-Abbas was forced to fight the Muslims at Badr, but he just stood there and allowed himself to be captured. He was captured by Abu Yusuf al-Sulami, a man small in size. He was assisted by an angel. Allah wanted Al-Abbas captured early so that he would not be killed. It was painful for the Prophet ﷺ and his companions to see their loved ones as captives. The Prophet ﷺ gave concessions to his uncle, and out of justice he gave the same to all the captives. He even started new methods of ransom, including allowing prisoners of war to teach people how to read in exchange for freedom. The Prophet ﷺ asked Al-Abbas to ransom himself, and he said that he did not have any money. The Prophet ﷺ told him about some money only he and his wife knew about. Al-Abbas immediately realized he was a true prophet, and some narrators claim he accepted Islam then and there. This verse was revealed then, promising goodness in both worlds to Al-Abbas and those like him. After paying that ransom, Al-Abbas grew wealthier every day and never lost wealth again. The Prophet ﷺ returned home from Tabuk with a strong psychological victory, but the event had exposed the hypocrites and those inclined to the temptations of this world. Surah At-Tawbah was revealed at the time of the expedition of Tabuk and reflects the various political events that took place that year. It flows from Surah Al-Anfal, and like one surah sharing a theme military struggle. The book was a long and brutal expedition which the Prophet ﷺ and the 30,000 companions set out to face the Byzantine army. It was a long march through the desert in the middle of summer. Leaving Medina for this expedition in itself was a test from Allah. Eventually, no battle took place as the Byzantine army did not show up. The Prophet ﷺ returned home with a strong psychological victory, but the event had exposed the hypocrites and those inclined to this world. So I'm going to conclude the video here. So ensure you read Juz 10, and I'll leave you here for Imanillah. Wa sallallahu wa baraka ala nabina Muhammad. Astaghfirullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.